The Proposal. Nathaniel Reed surveyed San Francisco's skyline from his office window, the evening light casting long shadows across the polished floor. At 34, he'd built quantum innovations into a tech empire, but today even that accomplishment felt hollow. The Nakamura investment, potentially worth billions, was slipping through his fingers. "They're traditional, Nate," his chief marketing officer, Jasmine, explained. "The Nakamura's value stability family. They've passed on 3 younger CEOs this year alone, all brilliant but single. They see you as—" She hesitated. "A workaholic bachelor with no personal life," Nathaniel finished, his voice flat. "Tell me something I don't know." "We need to soften your image. Show them you're settled, balanced, not just the Iron Man of Silicon Valley the press calls you." Jasmine scrolled through her tablet. "The Nakamuras will be in town for 2 months. That's our window." Nathaniel loosened his tie. "I don't have time to date." "Then don't date. Just appear to be dating." Jasmine's suggestion hung in the air. "Find someone convincing. Someone who'll help you appear more human." 3 days later, Nathaniel found himself at a small theater in the Mission District. Quantum was sponsoring a local arts initiative, good PR, Jasmine had insisted, and he was expected to make an appearance at the fundraiser. The theater was charming but clearly struggling. Peeling paint, outdated lighting systems. A striking woman with auburn hair paced the stage, directing volunteers with a mixture of authority and warmth. "The lighting needs to be subtle for the opening remarks, then brighten gradually for the donor presentation," she instructed. When a light flickered ominously, she sighed. "And someone please check that main fixture before it becomes a lawsuit." She turned, noticing Nathaniel standing in the back row. "We're not open for another hour, sir." "I'm Nathaniel Reed. Quantum is sponsoring tonight's event." Recognition flickered across her face. "Mr. Reed, I'm Olivia Winters, artistic director." She extended her hand, then withdrew it with a laugh. "Sorry, I've been painting sets all day." There was something refreshing about her lack of pretense. No fawning, no immediate business pitch. "The program mentions your theater company is in its final season unless funding increases," Nathaniel said, cutting right to the difficult conversation. "How CEO of you." Olivia smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Yes, Riverside Theater has 6 months before we close permanently. Tonight's our Hail Mary pass." A crash sounded backstage, followed by cursing. Olivia closed her eyes briefly. "Excuse me, crisis calling." Nathaniel watched her stride away, efficiently solving whatever catastrophe had occurred. He hadn't planned this, but as he observed her calm competence, an idea formed. After the event, as guests mingled with champagne and hors d'oeuvres, Nathaniel approached her again. "Your presentation was compelling." "Not compelling enough for a substantial donation, I'm guessing," Olivia replied, eyeing him over her glass of sparkling water. "Actually, I have a different proposition." Nathaniel lowered his voice. "I need a partner for a series of business events. Someone poised, intelligent, and convincing." Olivia's eyebrows rose. "Are you offering me a job as your—" "What, exactly?" "My girlfriend, temporarily." The words sounded ridiculous aloud. "For appearances only. Is this a joke?" Her voice was incredulous. "I'm perfectly serious. 2 months, generous compensation, and Quantum will fund Riverside Theater's next season entirely." Olivia stared at him, her expression unreadable. "You want me to pretend to be in love with you for business reasons?" "Not in love, just companionship, mutual respect." Nathaniel straightened his already perfect tie. "It's a business arrangement, Ms. Winters, nothing more." Olivia laughed suddenly, the sound genuine and unexpected. "Of all the fundraising strategies I've tried, this is certainly the most original." Her smile faded. "But I don't think—" $300,000 for Riverside, Nathaniel interrupted. "Enough to renovate and operate for 2 full seasons." Olivia fell silent, conflict evident in her expression. "Think about it," Nathaniel said, handing her his card. "Call me tomorrow." As he walked away, he heard her voice behind him. "Mr. Reed?" He turned. "If, and that's a big if, I agreed to this madness, I'd have conditions of my own." Nathaniel smiled slightly. "I wouldn't expect anything less." Playing the part. Olivia stared at her reflection in the mirror of Nathaniel's private elevator, barely recognizing herself. The emerald dress, couriered to her apartment that morning with a note specifying appropriate attire for tonight's gala, cost more than her monthly rent. Her hair had been styled by a professional Nathaniel had arranged, her makeup flawless. "Remember," Nathaniel said beside her, adjusting his cufflinks, "we met at your theater fundraiser, were immediately drawn to each other, and have been dating for 6 weeks." 6 weeks? Olivia frowned. "Isn't that rushed for someone the press calls pathologically commitment-phobic?" Nathaniel's expression tightened. "You've been researching me." "Know thy enemy?" she quipped, then softened. "Sorry. Know thy fake boyfriend." The elevator doors slid open to reveal the rooftop of San Francisco's most exclusive hotel. String lights twinkled against the twilight sky. Waiters glided between elegantly dressed guests, and a string quartet played softly in the corner. "The Nakamuras will arrive at 8, Nathaniel murmured, his hand finding the small of her back as they stepped into the crowd. "They're traditional but not stuffy. Affectionate touches are expected, but nothing excessive." "I do know how couples behave, Nathaniel," Olivia replied. "I've actually been in relationships that weren't contractually obligated." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Touché." The evening unfolded like a carefully orchestrated play. Olivia had to admit that Nathaniel was an attentive fake boyfriend, getting her drinks, introducing her to important connections who might support Riverside Theater, even remembering she preferred sparkling water with lime, not lemon. "Nathaniel Reed, smiling twice in one evening," remarked an older man approaching them. "The apocalypse must be near." "Douglas," Nathaniel nodded. "This is Olivia Winters, Artistic Director of Riverside Theater." "Olivia. Douglas Chen, my former mentor and current board member." Douglas's eyes twinkled knowingly. "Ah, so this is the woman who's been monopolizing your time." "The board was beginning to think you'd been replaced by a more pleasant doppelganger." Olivia laughed. "Has he been that different?" "He approved a company-wide early dismissal for the summer solstice party. The Nathaniel I know considers lunch breaks a regrettable necessity." "You exaggerate," Nathaniel said, but his hand tightened slightly around Olivia's waist. As Douglas moved on, Olivia leaned closer. "You never mentioned I was having a positive influence on your management style." "Part of the narrative," Nathaniel replied smoothly. "The cold CEO melted by the artistic free spirit." "Right," Olivia said, ignoring an unexpected pang of disappointment. "The narrative. When the Nakamuras arrived, Hiroshi, the patriarch, his wife Emiko, and their son Takashi, Olivia found herself genuinely interested in their conversation. Hiroshi spoke passionately about traditional Japanese theater, and Olivia shared her own company's efforts to incorporate diverse theatrical traditions. "You see beyond Western conventions," Emiko noted approvingly. "A rare quality." Throughout the evening, Olivia caught glimpses of a different Nathaniel, one who listened intently to Hiroshi's concerns about technology's social impact, who spoke with unexpected eloquence about his company's ethical guidelines. This wasn't the calculating businessman she'd expected. Later, as they stood at the edge of the rooftop overlooking the bay, Takashi Nakamura approached them. "My parents are impressed," he said simply. "Particularly with how you look at her, Reed." After he walked away, Olivia raised an eyebrow. "How do you look at me?" "Apparently convincingly," Nathaniel said, but his eyes shifted away from hers. The next 3 weeks were a whirlwind of carefully staged appearances. Charity luncheons, gallery openings, even a weekend sailing on the Nakamura's yacht. Through it all, Olivia learned the complex role of Nathaniel Reed's girlfriend, memorizing details about his life to drop into conversation naturally. She learned he preferred black coffee, worked until midnight most days, had a secret passion for classical piano but never played for anyone, and donated anonymously to foster care programs because he'd spent 3 years in the system as a child. That last detail wasn't in the dossier his assistant had prepared. He'd mentioned it offhandedly one night as they left a benefit for children's services. It was the first genuinely personal thing he'd shared. After a particularly convincing performance at a dinner party where she'd made the entire table laugh with stories of their early dates, Nathaniel drove her home in unusual silence. "Did I say something wrong?" she finally asked as they pulled up to her apartment building. "No," he said, then hesitated. "You're very good at this, making people believe we're—" He didn't finish the sentence. "I am an actress, among other things," Olivia reminded him. "Though I'm surprised you're not better at it, considering how much negotiating you do." "Negotiating is different. It's strategic. This is," he frowned, "less controllable." Before she could respond, his phone chimed. "The Nakamuras have invited us to their family home for the weekend. It's a crucial step. They rarely invite business associates to their private residence." Unscripted moments, the Nakamura family estate nestled in Napa Valley like a jewel set against rolling vineyards. Traditional Japanese gardens blended seamlessly with California landscape design, creating an atmosphere of tranquil elegance. "Remember?" Nathaniel murmured as they approached the entrance. "The Nakamuras value authenticity. This weekend is critical." Olivia adjusted her weekend bag on her shoulder. "You keep saying that as if I might suddenly announce our relationship is a sham over breakfast." For a moment, she thought she saw genuine worry in his eyes. "That's not what I meant." Before she could respond, the massive wooden doors swung open, revealing Emiko Nakamura in casual but impeccable linen. "Welcome to our home," she said warmly. "Please leave formality at the door." The weekend unfolded with unexpected ease. Saturday morning found Olivia helping Emiko prepare traditional sweets in the kitchen while the men discussed business on the terrace. As they worked, Emiko shared stories of her arranged marriage to Hiroshi, how their relationship had grown from formal obligation into deep love. "Sometimes," Emiko said, watching Olivia's hands shape the rice dough, "the heart recognizes what the mind refuses to acknowledge." Later, Olivia wandered into a room with a magnificent grand piano. Unable to resist, she sat down and began playing a simple melody she'd learned as a child. "I didn't know you played," she startled at Nathaniel's voice from the doorway. "Poorly," she admitted. "Nothing like you." His eyebrows rose. "How did you—" "Your assistant mentioned it. Said you were quite good." Something flickered across his face as he approached the piano. "May I?" Olivia moved over and Nathaniel sat beside her. His fingers hovered over the keys momentarily before beginning a haunting Chopin nocturne. He played with unexpected emotion, his usual controlled demeanor dissolving into the music. "That was beautiful," she whispered when he finished. "My mother taught me," he said quietly, "before she died. I was 7. The simple vulnerability in his voice caught her off guard. "This wasn't part of their script. Why don't you play anymore?" she asked. His fingers rested lightly on the keys without pressing them. "No time, no point. There's always a point to beauty, Nathaniel." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and Olivia felt something shift between them, something unplanned and dangerous. That evening, dinner extended late into the night with conversation flowing as freely as the wine from the Nakamura's vineyard. Olivia found herself genuinely enjoying their company, especially when Takashi challenged Nathaniel to a friendly debate about the future of AI ethics. "You surprise me, Reed," Takashi said. "I expected a typical Silicon Valley techno-optimist, but you're actually thoughtful about potential consequences." "Olivia's influence," Nathaniel replied, his hand finding hers under the table. "She's helped me see beyond quarterly projections." The statement sounded rehearsed, but his hand squeezed hers with unexpected warmth. Later, walking through the moonlit gardens, Hiroshi mentioned that the investment committee was meeting Monday. "I have a good feeling about our partnership, Nathaniel. You are not the man I expected." After the Nakamuras retired, Olivia and Nathaniel found themselves alone on the veranda, crickets chirping in the warm night air. "We're convincing them," she said softly. "Yes." Nathaniel stared into his whiskey glass. "Though I'm not sure who's playing this role anymore. Me or some better version of myself." "I don't think you're playing a role when you talk about your company's ethics." "Or play Chopin," Olivia ventured. "That seems like the real you." He looked up, his expression unguarded. "And which version do you prefer?" The question hung between them, weighted with implications neither had anticipated when they'd signed their contract. "I prefer the truth," she finally said. Whatever that is. Something changed in his eyes, a decision made. He set down his glass and moved closer. Olivia. His voice was different, uncertain, almost tender. A rustling sound from the garden interrupted them. Takashi emerged from the shadows, apologizing for startling them. Don't mind me, just retrieving my forgotten tablet. But the moment had shattered. Nathaniel stepped back, his CEO mask sliding firmly back into place. Sunday morning, hiking through the vineyard with the Nakamuras, Olivia stumbled on loose stones. Nathaniel caught her with reflexive speed, his arms encircling her waist. Their faces were inches apart. Careful, he murmured, but didn't release her immediately. Sorry, she whispered back, suddenly aware of his heartbeat against her palm. Emiko smiled knowingly at them, but said nothing. As they prepared to leave that afternoon, Hiroshi took Nathaniel aside while Emiko helped Olivia pack the local wines they'd been gifted. Your Olivia is special, Emiko said. The way you look at each other, it reminds me of Hiroshi and me in our early days. Guilt twisted in Olivia's stomach. We're still figuring things out. The best relationships are always a work in progress, Emiko replied, patting her hand. But when it's right, you know. In the car driving back to San Francisco, a new tension stretched between them. Their performance had been flawless, too flawless. The lines between pretense and reality had blurred dangerously. The Nakamuras were impressed, Nathaniel finally said, breaking the silence. Hiroshi wants to finalize the deal this week. So our job is almost done, Olivia replied, looking out the window at the passing landscape. Yes. A pause. You've been exceptional. She turned to find him watching her, his expression unreadable. Just doing what you paid me for. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Right. They drove the rest of the way in silence, both aware that something unscripted had happened, something neither their contract nor their carefully constructed narrative had prepared them for. Behind the scenes, the headline blazed across Olivia's phone screen. Tech Titans romance revealed as business fraud. Beneath it, a photo of her and Nathaniel at the Nakamura estate, alongside screenshots of what appeared to be their contract. Her hands trembled as she called Nathaniel. Who answered on the first ring? I've seen it, he said, his voice tight. My team is tracing the leak. It appears someone hacked my private server. Your private... Olivia closed her eyes. You kept our contract on a server? An encrypted, supposedly unhackable server, Nathaniel replied. I'm handling it. Handling it? She repeated incredulously. Nathaniel, my name is being dragged through the tech blogs as your paid escort. A sharp intake of breath. That's not what they're saying. Close enough. Struggling artist hired to pose as girlfriend. My theater board is calling an emergency meeting. My reputation? I'll fix this, he cut in. The Nakamura deal signs tomorrow. Once it's done, Riverside gets its funding regardless of this leak. Olivia felt a cold clarity settle over her. That's your concern? Your deal? It's what we agreed to, Nathaniel said, his voice slipping into the detached tone she hadn't heard since their early meetings. I thought you'd want to know your theater is still getting paid. Right. The transaction. Olivia's voice hardened. Was any of it real, Nathaniel? The piano, the conversations about your childhood, the almost moment on the veranda, silence stretched between them. I need to address this publicly, he finally said, avoiding her question. My PR team suggests we confirm our relationship was arranged initially but developed into something genuine. Olivia laughed bitterly. Another performance. It's the cleanest solution, he insisted. The Nakamuras save face, you're portrayed sympathetically, and you get your billions, she finished. Efficient as always. Later that day, Olivia sat in Riverside Theater's empty auditorium, staring at the stage where she'd first met Nathaniel. Her phone buzzed with another call from him, the fifth she'd ignored. Instead, she answered a call from an unfamiliar number. Ms. Winters? This is Takashi Nakamura. Olivia's stomach dropped. Mr. Nakamura, Please let me speak, he interrupted gently. I've seen the news. I've also seen you and Reed together. Whatever arrangement began your relationship, what I witnessed wasn't entirely fabricated. "You're very kind," Olivia managed. "I'm observant," Takashi corrected. "And I recognize when a man is falling in love despite his best efforts not to. My family values honesty above all. Reed's deception concerns us, but not for the reasons he might think." After the call ended, Olivia sat in the growing darkness. A text arrived from Nathaniel. "Press conference tomorrow. 9 a.m. Please come." She didn't respond. The next morning, Olivia watched from her apartment as Nathaniel faced a mob of reporters outside Quantum headquarters. His face was drawn, his usual confidence replaced by something she'd never seen before: uncertainty. "I called this conference to address the recent allegations regarding my relationship with Olivia Winters," he began, his voice steady despite everything. "The reports are partially correct. Our relationship did begin as an arrangement." Cameras flashed furiously. "In my drive to secure the Nakamura investment, I believed I needed to present a specific image. I asked Ms. Winters to help create that illusion, offering funding for her theater company in exchange." Olivia held her breath, waiting for the calculated spin, the business-minded explanation. Instead, Nathaniel looked directly into the cameras, his composure cracking. "What I didn't anticipate was her. Olivia showed me parts of myself I'd buried under spreadsheets and acquisitions. She reminded me that life isn't just about the next deal." The final act Riverside Theater buzzed with activity as final preparations for opening night went into overdrive. 6 weeks had passed since Nathaniel's press conference, and much had changed. Thanks to an anonymous donation, not from Quantum, Riverside's renovation was nearly complete, with state-of-the-art lighting and sound systems replacing the failing equipment. Olivia hadn't spoken to Nathaniel since that day. He'd respected her silence, sending only a brief message. "Whatever you decide, the funding for Riverside is secure. No strings attached." She'd thrown herself into directing their revival production of Much Ado About Nothing, Shakespeare's classic tale of two people who begin in deception and end in love. The irony wasn't lost on her. "5 minutes to places," the stage manager called, snapping Olivia from her thoughts. As the house lights dimmed, she slipped into the back row, her usual spot for opening performances. The theater was sold out, a minor miracle given their previous struggle for audience. The play unfolded beautifully, the actors bringing Shakespeare's words to life with passion and precision. When Benedict finally confessed his love for Beatrice, abandoning pride for truth, Olivia felt tears pricking her eyes. It was during the final act that she sensed someone sitting beside her. Even without looking, she knew. "You changed the lighting design for the reconciliation scene," Nathaniel said softly. "It's more effective this way." Olivia kept her eyes on the stage. "What are you doing here?" "Supporting local theater," he replied, then sighed. "And hoping to see you." On stage, the couples moved toward their happy ending, conflicts resolved through honesty rather than artifice. "I saw what you did with the Nakamura deal," Olivia said. "Takashi told me they agreed to a modified investment, smaller but with better terms for Quantum. He said our mistake was the execution, not the emotion." Nathaniel's voice held a hint of wonder. His exact words were, "Next time, try honesty from the beginning." The audience applauded as the play reached its conclusion. As the house lights rose, Olivia finally turned to look at him. Nathaniel seemed different, the perpetual tension in his shoulders gone, his expression open in a way she'd only glimpsed in their most unguarded moments. "I had a speech prepared," he admitted. "Very logical, well-structured. But I realize now that's not what this is about." Around them, audience members filed out toward the lobby for the opening night reception. "What is it about, then?" Olivia asked. "Courage," he said simply. "The courage to be seen as I am, not as I think I should be. You gave me that, Olivia." She studied him, the man she'd come to know beyond the CEO facade. "When did it change for you? When did the act become real?" "The moment you called me out in the car after the dinner party," he said without hesitation. when you said I was the only one not convinced by our performance. You saw through everything." The theater had emptied now, leaving them alone in the dim glow of exit signs. "I resigned as CEO," Nathaniel said quietly. "I'm still on the board, but I've appointed Jasmine to take over operations." Olivia's eyes widened. "What? Why?" "I built Quantum because I needed to prove something. To myself, to the foster system that labeled me a problem child, to the world. But somewhere along the way, building it became more important than living in it." He reached for her hand tentatively. "I want to live now, Olivia." "And what does living look like to you?" she asked, not pulling away. A smile ghosted across his face. "Honestly, I don't know yet. Playing piano again. Maybe teaching technology ethics at Stanford. They've been asking for years. Definitely seeing more theater." His eyes held hers. "Preferably with the director if she's willing." Olivia felt the last of her resistance crumbling. "No contracts this time?" "No contracts," he promised. "Just truth. The terrifying, wonderful truth that I love you, Olivia Winters. Not for what you can do for my image or my business, but for how you challenge me, inspire me, and make me want to be worthy of you." She stood, pulling him to his feet. "You know, this would make a terrible play. Critics would say it's too unrealistic. The cold CEO and the passionate artist finding genuine love through a fake relationship. Too contrived," Nathaniel suggested, hope brightening his eyes as she moved closer. "Completely," Olivia agreed, her hands finding their way to his face. "And yet, here we are, in the final act." When their lips met, there were no cameras, no business partners watching, no performance metrics to meet. There was only truth, finally spoken without scripts or strategies. Later, at the reception, Takashi Nakamura raised his glass in a toast to Riverside's successful opening. Seeing Olivia and Nathaniel enter together, he smiled knowingly. "Two new beginnings," he said, "and the courage to pursue them honestly." As applause filled the renovated lobby, Nathaniel whispered in Olivia's ear, "I think we've found our happy ending." She smiled, squeezing his hand. "I think we've found our real beginning."